Evolutionary psychology often characterizes curiosity as an appetitive drive, a mechanism that rewards the brain with dopamine for exploring the environment and gathering new knowledge. But that model fails to account for the physical discomfort we experience when we encounter a missing piece of information. The tip of the tongue phenomenon, or the unresolved tension of a cliffhanger, creates a distracting, agonizing sensation. Encountering an information gap triggers an uncomfortable sense of deficit. In these moments, the brain perceives missing data as a physiological lack that requires immediate resolution. To resolve this contradiction, psychologists rely on a framework known as the interest deprivation, or ID, model of trait curiosity. The first component of this model is curiosity as interest. This is the baseline personality trait characterized by the anticipation of pleasure. It is the unburdened enjoyment derived from exploring new ideas. The second component is curiosity as deprivation. This trait measures a baseline propensity to feel frustrated or bothered when faced with an information gap. It functions as an information craving, driving the individual to eliminate the psychological tension of the unknown. Understanding how and why humans seek information requires measuring both of these dimensions. We have to account for the joy of learning as well as the perceived pain of ignorance. There is a structural difference between a personality trait and an affective state. A trait is a stable, long-term propensity. A state is the immediate, fleeting emotional reaction to a specific stimulus in the present moment. The central tension in curiosity research is determining whether broad baseline traits reliably predict the specific microemotions a person feels while actively experiencing an information gap. A 2022 study by Ryakhovskaya, Jack, and Smiley investigated this exact relationship. They designed an experiment to map these long-term traits directly to their real-time state manifestations. To validate the ID model, the researchers needed to prove divergent validity. They had to demonstrate that individuals scoring high in curiosity as interest and those scoring high in curiosity as deprivation experience distinctly different emotional profiles when presented with a mystery. The researchers also established a behavioral endpoint for the study. They needed to determine how these specific emotional states compel a person to take physical action, specifically by paying a measurable cost to acquire the missing information. The methodology breaks down into 3 distinct phases: deconstructing the experimental trial used to generate the information gap, mapping the statistical link between traits and states, and calculating the final mediation model that dictates behavior. To generate controlled information gaps, the researchers deployed a 25-question trivia task. The questions spanned multiple subject categories, from history to physical science, ensuring a variety of stimuli. This diagram illustrates the sequence of a single trial. It begins with the presentation of a question and a prompt for the participant to type their best guess. After submitting a guess, participants encounter a strict 2-second delay before the correct answer is revealed. During this forced waiting period, participants are asked to rate 2 distinct sets of emotions. They record how curious or interested they feel, and separately, how frustrated or bothered they feel about not knowing the answer. In the final block of trials, the protocol introduces a critical change. The answer is no longer displayed automatically. Participants are presented with a choice. They can skip to the next question immediately, or they can choose to see the answer. Choosing to see the answer incurs a 5-second time penalty. This built-in delay serves as a quantifiable economic cost, testing exactly how much participants are willing to pay to resolve their curiosity. The trial design accomplishes 3 discrete tasks. It isolates the knowledge gap, it measures the immediate emotional discomfort that gap causes, and it forces a measurable choice to resolve it. This structural equation model visualizes the statistical relationship between the participants' baseline traits and their immediate reactions. On the left are the latent trait nodes, curiosity as interest and curiosity as deprivation. The data shows that the curiosity as interest trait exclusively predicts a positive state response. High baseline interest leads directly to feeling curious and interested during the delay. Crucially, curiosity as interest yields no significant correlation with negative emotions. People driven by this trait do not feel frustrated or bothered by the unknown answer. Curiosity as deprivation yields a split reaction. It positively predicts the state of feeling curious, but it also strongly predicts the state of feeling frustrated. Curiosity as deprivation is the only unique predictor of feeling bothered by an information gap. It is the sole source of the psychological discomfort measured during the trial. This split confirms the divergent validity of the model. Both traits successfully drive interest, but curiosity as deprivation uniquely inflicts psychological distress when information is withheld. Looking at the right side of this structural equation model brings us to the final dependent variable. Both the positive state of curiosity and negative state of frustration positively predict a participant's willingness to pay the cost. For individuals with high curiosity as interest, 72% of their decision to pay for information is statistically mediated through their immediate feeling of state curiosity. For those with high curiosity as deprivation, the behavior is mediated differently. Their choice to pay is driven by a combination of situational interest and the urgent need to resolve their frustration. Baseline traits act as structural potentials. They do not drive information-seeking behavior directly. Rather, they prime the immediate emotional engines of curiosity and frustration, which force the final decision. The statistical evidence reveals that once situational curiosity and frustration are accounted for, the direct paths from underlying traits to behavior drop to non-significant levels. The immediate state of curiosity or frustration, rather than a broad personality score, dictates the actual decision to pay the 5-second cost. Curiosity functions as a dual drive system. It involves the pleasure of discovery, but also a specific functional pressure to eliminate the psychological discomfort of missing data. The pain of not knowing proves to be a primary engine of human inquiry. Curiosity is powered equally by the pleasure of discovery